Hey, everybody. I think we're live. Uh, for those of you who are tuning in, I'm Steve Forcum. I am Head of Marketing and Channel Chief here at SIPPIO. Really excited today to have a quick conversation with one of our newer colleagues, Matt Batterbee. He's the Director of Strategic Programs here at SIPPIO. And Matt sat through Microsoft Ignite last week. And we wanted to just jump on and have a quick conversation about what you might have missed at the conference and some of the opportunities that are out there for partners, resellers, and others that are in this ecosystem to capitalize on what Microsoft's driving into market with artificial intelligence and how communications can be the missing piece to those strategies. So how you can help your customers with making their AI projects even more effective. So I'd like to welcome Matt to join me on the session. There he is. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, just to say hello. So I am Matt Batterbee. Yes, I am a newer employee. I think I'm going into month 3 at SIPPIO. And I would say last week, everyone saw me in full geek mode during Microsoft Ignite, consuming content, putting content out to the teams, building decks, writing blogs. So this was Steve's way of getting me to just shut up and just get on with it, get information out to partners, and we'll do a video. So I'm really, really excited to be on. And yeah, welcome.
All right, let's get it right out of the chute. What are your key takeaways from last week at Ignite?
Yeah, so I would say, Ignite definitely set the tone for the kind of next era of digital transformation. It was all about AI at scale and unlocking innovation. So for partners, those announcements, they're not just exciting. It represents that roadmap for growth, differentiation, and deeper customer engagements. So what I would say is those all really go hand in hand as well. You can't differentiate without that deeper engagement. And if you're not going to be building those deeper engagements with your customers, and not just with the technical and business decision makers, but also the wider leaders of that business, you're not going to be able to grow as much. You're not going to be able to differentiate to suit your customers' needs. So it's really important to keep an eye on that opportunity as well. But in terms of Ignite, obviously a ton of content, and I will just highlight, go check out the book of news as well, that you can have a look at. That came out during the keynote. So they were really quick on getting that information out there. But I kind of broke Ignite down into 5 key pillars. So you've got Work IQ, essentially helps Copilot understand how you work so that it can give smarter and more personalized suggestions. You've got Fabric IQ and Foundry IQ. So essentially, Fabric IQ turns raw data into meaningful insights. Keep in mind that raw data, because we will talk about voice data being one of those that can be pulled into meaningful insights. But Foundry IQ as well, that make sure that AI agents have the right knowledge to act confidently. You then got Agent Factory. So that's essentially the toolkit for building and deploying AI agents quickly and securely. You have Agent 365. So that's the control center that manages and protects all your AI agents across the organization. And then the last kind of pillar that I kind of pulled in was Teams Mode and Voice First Copilot. So Teams Mode, essentially bringing Copilot into meetings and chats for that real-time help. And then Voice First Copilot lets you get things done just by speaking. And then there were 2 other announcements that really kind of caught my attention, but I didn't kind of put them in the key pillars. One being that kind of SMB Copilot announcement, a new SMB, Microsoft 365 Copilot business, $21 per user per month, going live 1st of December this year. Presents a huge opportunity. 99% of businesses worldwide are in that SMB category. So there's a huge opportunity there to capitalize on. And then the last one is the Security Copilot. So now being included in Microsoft 365 E5 at no extra cost. So they were kind of the key takeaways from Ignite last week.
So for a lot of our partners, they're probably saying this is a lot of different terms I haven't really heard. I'm not as familiar with Fabric IQ and whatnot. Bring it back. Let's figure out how do communications increase in importance as a result of these announcements?
Yeah, so I think, and this is an area where, I've been speaking to so many partners, even before my time at SIPPIO, around building AI practices, not just selling licenses. And, in order to have a successful AI adoption, AI thrives on data. And voice is one of the richest, most contextual data sources available. So when customers integrate cloud voice solutions like SIPPIO into their Microsoft Teams environment, they unlock a ton of benefits. So like stronger and accelerated ROI of the AI adoption. Also enhanced security and compliance. It closes another door essentially, whether it's a legacy PBX tool or a third-party solution. So really, taking advantage of SIPPIO's Azure native platform, ensuring that kind of governance-ready voice aligning with Microsoft security frameworks. And the one final one that I'll mention in terms of those kind of benefits, it is the cost optimization. By consolidating into the Microsoft ecosystem, customers reduce complexity, optimize spend, and then reinvest those savings into innovation with their MSPs. So, the MSP, they're going to see, even the customer sees that reduced spend and better ROI, and they do become stickier to the MSP. And because they're saving money elsewhere on services that they weren't even buying from the MSP in the first place, in the long run, they're going to consume more. So voice really presents this opportunity of, the better data getting into AI. AI is only as good as the data it's being fed. So that presents a massive opportunity. But, as soon as I get talking about this, I start to talk about, hey, it unlocks the security opportunity and so on. So it really is this on-ramp, if you like, of meaningful AI outcomes when you incorporate the voice data.
So what have you seen in terms of ROI with voice versus without voice as it pertains to, the broader AI ecosystem? That's what Microsoft's really creating with, all of their co-pilots. Copilot as a brand is kind of a misnomer because it's not a single thing, right? They've got a whole army of co-pilots underneath. One of the ones that we use all the time is Facilitator inside of our meetings, but there's a whole army of them. So what have you seen on the ROI front as it pertains to, voice, no voice inside of this ecosystem?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. And actually, it's still kind of amazing to me that Copilot is just over 2 years old. I think it kind of went public preview around November 2022, I want to say. And then kind of general availability was March 2023. So, it's been really interesting to look at ROI, because in some cases we're still in that predictor phase when it comes to a lot of the ROI, because most organizations report achieving satisfactory ROI on AI use cases within 2 to 4 years. So there's still in that kind of phase of, well, we're expecting to see the ROI in 6-12 months time. And that's significantly longer than for a typical technology investment. You expect an ROI within 7 to 12 months. That's the kind of typical, which is also why what you're seeing in the market is around 40% of all AI initiatives being abandoned, and actually over 90% of AI initiatives not achieving the expected ROI. And I think some of that is education, some of that is, businesses almost see AI as, or they buy the Copilot license and think, hey, I've just inserted the magic button into my business and it's going to solve all my problems. But without that kind of data, it's not going to be as successful. So in terms of that, what I've seen is, and what I've seen reported across the industry is, high performing sectors, and that's the likes of banking, legal, those sectors that are leading the way in terms of AI adoption. They're seeing typical ROI within around 3 years. Gen AI, around 2 to 4 years is the expectation. One thing that is really driving faster AI success is very specific, the likes of like AI bots, something that is, very specific, call it a pilot project within an organization. They need it to do this, and it's going to solve this problem for them. And it's a bot, it's an agent that's going to do that for them. They see typical ROI for that one specific thing within around 60 days. But when you start to integrate voice, so like Teams with SIPPIO, with AI across, so you go from that 2 to 4 year typical ROI to 6 to 12 months. And again, I've used this analogy and not a lot. So Steve, please don't roll your eyes when you hear it again. But I describe AI as a jigsaw puzzle. And I'm not sitting here saying voice is the number one element that is the most important, although a lot of data backs up, it's up there. It's everything. It's making sure you've got the right strategy, the right leadership, education and training enablement, how to use the AI, data foundation, infrastructure, security, operational readiness, even the culture of the business. All these things go into the jigsaw as well as voice. And with a jigsaw, if you're missing any of those pieces, well, it's not a completed picture. And that is definitely, what you see with AI. So yeah, voice is definitely one very important piece of the jigsaw. But one thing that I would really recommend, following Ignite, moving forward, is if you're a Microsoft partner, an MSP, and you're thinking, you want to help your customers with AI adoption, you need to see the full jigsaw and you need to be able to offer those services. I'm not saying you need to do it all yourselves. You can partner up. You can work with SIPPIO. It's not saying go and build all this technology yourselves, go and build all the services and resources and everything yourself. You can work with partners, but the ROI. So I know that's a very long way of answering your question. So I will just summarize really quickly and say, again, you're comparing without voice.
Well, hold on, Matt. I need to prompt my AI. Please take and distill and summarize what Matt just said.
Okay, so the AI version of me will say it goes from 2 to 4 year ROI to 6 to 12 months ROI when you incorporate voice.
Sounds good. So, the most important part for the folks that I talk to is, what does this mean for partners? And partners, partners are like snowflakes in that every single one of them is different. So, talk to me a little bit about how, partners are going to take the takeaways from Ignite to help them serve their customers.
Yeah, and I think, in terms of what partners can go and do moving forward, in terms of, if I'm going to be selfish here and say, hey, let's incorporate SIPPIO in that, positioning SIPPIO as the voice layer for that kind of AI driven collaboration is definitely going to be huge value add, and you're going to make me smile, that's for sure. But I would also say use, Microsoft's Ignite messaging to show customers the value of AI, but how voice accelerates that co-pilot value as well. Mm-hmm. And also building stickiness by delivering integrated solutions that optimize their cost and unlock that reinvestment. And I would also say, and again, a lot of partners, when they hear me say this, they kind of roll their eyes a bit, and I'll explain why, but the industry focus as well. And that's not to say, so sometimes when I say these things around cost optimization and I talk around industry niches, what so many partners hear me say is, okay, go focus on one industry and turn down all the business from every other opportunity, and also help your customers spend less money with you. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is, you can build repeatable solutions with AI that are really going to help you in terms of pulling in. The average SMB even uses up to 10 different vendors for their technology. That's probably gone up since AI boom. And in enterprise, it was up to 25 different vendors. So you're going to be essentially helping them consolidate. And we are in an era of consolidation. Businesses want to consolidate, not just vendors, but how many MSPs they're working with as well. And then in terms of industry, it's a case of just analyzing your customer base and going, okay, we've got 20% of our customers, we've naturally built up this niche in education. Great. Let's really target the education sector. Again, we're not turning down business from anywhere. But if you can start to really build out in terms of industry, in terms of those niches, it's going to strengthen the opportunity, because even Microsoft 365 Copilot has got so many different use cases for so many different industries and so many different departments within those industries. And, everyone's guilty of it. I remember when I joined even SIPPIO, we've got Copilot. It was super helpful when I was being sent all this information of like getting to know SIPPIO, getting to know voice and everything, to be able to ask Copilot, can you please summarize this for me? So in terms of that speed of onboarding for a new starter, there's a use case in itself. And it's one that I never really thought about until I was a new starter myself. So you really have to get your head into the mind of the businesses that you're selling into, understand them, understand their industry challenges, what challenges they may be facing, competitors, the departments, how big is each department. And again, this is really going to help you with that kind of fast ROI with those pilot projects, but also building out into that, okay, how do we really boost their ROI? How do we make sure that the AI tool, the solutions, the systems that we're building for them are going to be we're going to be maximizing. They're going to be fed the right data, the richest data, the voice data. And again, working with SIPPIO is a good way to go about that. So essentially all these updates, all these announcements, it just means massive opportunity. But it's what I would say to partners, and I kind of end on this for this one, is just don't rush into just, we need to sell licenses. You really need to enable the customer to adopt it. Otherwise, what will happen is they buy Copilot, great, but if they've been using a shadow AI tool for the last 2 to 3 years and they haven't had a security breach yet, and they don't do it maliciously, they don't understand, because the education piece is so important, they'll just go back to type and they'll go, well, I've got Copilot, but I was fine using what I was using last week. It does the job for me. I like the responses it gives me. I'm going to keep using that. And that's when you start to see that churn. They will lose those licenses, or it just won't get used. The business won't see the value. The ROI is not there. It becomes another abandoned initiative. So yeah, again, comes back to that jigsaw puzzle. It's maximizing the jigsaw.
Awesome. Matt, thanks for jumping on, sharing a little bit of your insights from Ignite last week. I believe you're going to be actually publishing deeper dives into the whole conference on a new Substack. So keep an eye out. If you're not connected with Matt, feel free to reach out to Matt on LinkedIn, send him a connection request. And I'm sure we'll probably share them from the corporate page as well. But Matt, thanks for jumping on and sharing some of your insights with Ignite.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for jumping on. Talk to you soon.